What you should know about caring for e-bikes in winter. Welcome back to Techstination. I'm Fred Fishkin. Joining us from eBliss Global, the company behind Always Bikes, is CEO Bill Klehm. Hi, Bill.
Good morning. How are you?
Terrific. Great to see you again. It's been about a year since you were last on with us. Before we dive into e-bike care, give us a little bit of background again. The company is focused on bringing e-bikes into car dealers and more.
Yeah, so first of all, we believe that there's 119 million rides that a solo human makes every day in America in a car. And about 30% of those are less than 1 mile, 50% of those are less than 5 miles. And so our mantra is we want to own the 1 mile ride, the 1 mile decision. So that's what we're doing. So we design and build Generation 3 e-bikes. So all of our bikes come with very low to no maintenance. So brake pads and tires and everything is sealed, easy to operate. So we think about ease of implementation. So everything that we do is around creating a consumer experience, both in the user experience and in the ownership experience.
Tell us about the inroads you've been able to make in working with dealerships.
So we've got active dealerships in Hawaii selling bikes. We've got dealerships in Los Angeles, got dealerships in Western Michigan. We are getting ready to launch two in the Washington, D.C. area. And then we have a very large footprint in the Orlando area that we're about to implement as well. So I think by mid next year, we'll be somewhere around our goal of 100 rooftops by mid next year.
Terrific. Now, with cold weather arriving in many parts of the country, pretty chilly around here these days, many owners of e-bikes may not be doing much riding over the winter. So, what should they know about storing an e-bike for weeks or maybe months?
Sure.
I assume it's different from just putting your bicycle away, your regular bike away in the garage.
Yeah, I think there's some definite consideration that needs to be done. One, the battery, the battery you should again, my by the way, when you back up, then one of the top markets in the country for riding e-bikes is Minneapolis, and they ride in the wintertime. So again, I think their Northern European heritage is coming through in the greater Minneapolis area. Um, but dissimilar to Northern Europe where they ride 24 by 7, 365, no matter what. The US is a little bit more fickle associated with that than Europe. So if you are going to not use your bike actively for weeks or months on end, then our suggestion is very simple. Take the battery out, move it into a warm, dry location. Do not leave it charging, constantly over the winter. Put it into a full state of charge and then just store the battery in some place that's warm and dry. That's the biggest thing that you have to do because again, the batteries, those lithium cells they're not alive, but they're active as far as energy moving around in them all the time. So you do want to put those into a more, what I would call conservative environment.
So it's really the battery that you need to care for. That's the key difference here.
And if you, I mean, and again, I'm speaking about from our bike's perspective. We don't have a chain. Only use a belt. We don't have external gears or anything like that are going to rust. But if you do have those things, it's very important that you take the time and service your bike and to make sure that the chain and the gear systems are covered in the appropriate amount of oil or grease to just make sure that there is no oxidation that's going to happen. One of the things people don't realize is 20 minutes after you take your bike out of the box with a chain, it starts to rust. I mean, these things are immediate impact on the environment. And when you move into an environment of ice and snow and rain and sleet, it's going to rust faster. So again, that would be my suggestion. For our bikes, it's quite simple. Wash them off, put them in the garage, you'll be fine. I mean, the bike is very, it's almost sealed up. just because it doesn't have a chain derailleur, it doesn't have mechanical brakes, has hydraulic brakes. So again, we tried to think about ours on that complete ownership experience, but the majority of e-bikes have mechanical brakes. So you want to get all those adjusted and tuned up ahead of time. But the biggest thing is take the battery out, put the battery someplace dry. Do not leave it charged up.
Now, for people who may be shopping for an e-bike this holiday season, obviously you want them to look at Always Bikes, but
Cool.
what are some of the things that they should really look for? You mentioned taking the battery out. Not every e-bike has a removable battery. I guess that's one thing that they should keep in mind when shopping, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, our strong recommendation, our primary lineup all has removable batteries. We think that's a mandatory, so easily removable. So key access, all of our bikes, even our some of our custom high-end stuff that we do, the battery sometimes you got to drop the motor, but that's only for one model. The rest of them are all keyed and open and take out. So the first thing, that's one of the things I recommend is a place where you can access the battery yourself. So the other thing, if they're looking, I want you to think about the total ownership experience that you're going to have from an expense standpoint. Um, it's a pain to pick up an e-bike that weighs 52, 65, 70 pounds and put on the back of your car and take it to a bike shop. It's a pain in the neck. But if you're going to store it for the winter, I would definitely get that thing tuned up and checked out before you put it away.
Interesting. Other tips when shopping for an e-bike? And like I said, we know that you're prejudiced here.
I know. I mean, again, the biggest thing is trial. So the majority of consumers that are buying e-bikes are not active cyclists. Like this is a leap for them to get on. So for making sure that consumers go to a place where they can experience the product, I'm not a big fan of buying these things online just because you don't know what you're going to get on the consistency, and then packaging, shipping, damage are extreme. So number one thing is go try the bike. That's the number one thing. Then if you're shopping as a solo person, one of the other things I always think about is if you're going to start doing this, think about doing this with a partner, or if you have a partner, think about buying one with them, because exploring the world as two people versus one person always adds to the experience as well. So again, those are the things that I would recommend. Everything is sealed. Try the bike. Make sure you can take the battery out and make sure that the bike fits you. So when I launched a transmission in Europe, called New Vinci, that was the name of the technology. When it was the first time an internally geared transmission with no gears was launching, and we launched it across Holland. But before we did that, I sent a group of people into 1,000 consumers' homes to ask them what they wanted on a bike. And these are Dutch consumers, right? These people ride more than anybody else in the world, really, as part of their mainstream transportation. There were three drivers of what customers wanted out of an e-bike. The first driver was the quality of the touch points. So where you interfaced with the bike, how did it feel? Did it feel quality wise? Did the quality of the seat, did you feel comfortable on the bike? That's the number one. Number two is the quietness of the drivetrain. Consumers, especially consumers who are just getting into cycling, those noises of the derailleur going up and down, the Dutch call it door trapping. Consumers don't like that very much. It's very unnerving to not know, is this thing going to settle down? Am I going to be in the right gear? And then the third one is maintenance or lack thereof. So the other thing that I would recommend is being able to look at the bike you're going to purchase and understand your commitment as an owner for what you have to do to maintain that bike, because there is a cost to those things.
And for people who may wonder, are you taking away from the whole fitness aspect of biking with an e-bike?
So statistics show, not mine, other people's, that e-bike riders actually ride longer. And so they actually get an equitable amount of fitness. Now, I'm not talking about people that are riding century rides on the weekend with 100 miles, but if you're a casual rider, very clear evidence that consumers just ride farther and they're also able to take that longer ride with confidence because they have that bioelectric machine underneath them.
And an e-bike can be, $500 to $1,000, but what you're selling is more of an investment, I think.
I again, I would not ever recommend to any of my friends and family to buy a $500 e-bike. And it isn't, bless you, it isn't that I'm opposed to super inexpensive things. I'm opposed to what I consider to be an unsafe environment to put a consumer into a product. A $500 e-bike, the likelihood is it's not going to be of a quality that will last. The other thing that you should be looking for is the e-bike battery should be CE or UL certified for sure, right? If you watch the fires and things of all of the controversy in New York City over the last 18 to 24 months, the majority of those battery fires were as a result of very inexpensive, very lack of controlled environments for batteries. So that's a huge one, and I meant to mention that earlier. For sure, you want bikes that are UL and or CE certified. And again, that's a standard that we have.
Just terrific. So tell us about the price range of what you're offering roughly.
We're gonna be in the $3,000 and up kind of a category. Again, it depends upon how much gingerbread, what you want to do with the bike, the various models, but that's what we're gonna charge is about 3,000. Again, we're gonna come with a 3-year bumper to bumper warranty. Doesn't really have bumpers, I call it tip to tail. So 3-year warranty on the entire bike, lifetime on the frame. So we believe very strongly that the bike should last 3 to 4 years without having to rebuild the bike. So those are just some statistics about us.
What should people know about transporting e-bikes because they can be heavier?
One, be careful. Two, if you're going to transport them, make sure that the bike rack that you put on the back of your car is rated for e-bikes. There are several different styles of bike racks. Some of them are not rated for e-bikes, so you should definitely watch that. The other thing that I recommend strongly is I always put a secondary lock on my bikes on the back of my vehicles just to one, make sure they don't come off, but two, to make sure that they're not stolen when I park my vehicle someplace. So those are really important things. The right carrier for the bikes, very, very important.
And for more info on what you've got going on, where should people go?
So again, it's ebliss.global or alwaysbikes.com. Either one. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today. It's an exciting time watching this industry just flourish this year. 2.5 million e-bikes looks like it's gonna hit this year in America. That's more than Toyota sells cars. So that's a very big milestone.
Terrific. Well, congratulations on the innovations and the attention you pay to the details and the quality. Bill Klehm, thanks for spending time with us.
Thank you very much for having me.